Hello, my dear 9 students. This is the continued discussion of the chapter Is Matter Around Us Pure? In the previous video, we had discussed about two types of heterogeneous mixture, that is suspension and colloids. We have even discussed about their properties also. In this video, we are going to discuss about three separating techniques. Okay, in case of heterogeneous mixture, and homogeneous mixture, the components can be separated, right? Whereas in heterogeneous mixture, separation become quite easier as two components are clearly visible. Okay, and there is a boundary of separation. Whereas in homogeneous mixture, separation become quite difficult, but there are lot many methods to be followed to separate these components of mixture. Let us understand how these components of mixture can be separated. In our day-to-day life, we'll see that we'll use several techniques to separate heterogeneous mixture. Maybe in our kitchen, we use various techniques to separate heterogeneous mixture. That is hand picking. Sometimes when stones are mixed with rice, we use this hand picking method. We pick the stones with the help of hand and we'll separate the heterogeneous mixture. Sometimes we'll go for sieving. Whenever flour is mixed with rava, okay, or suji, we'll go for sieving. By sieving technique, we'll use a siever and of different sizes will be available. Based on the material to be sieved, we'll select the siever, and by doing so, we can separate heterogeneous mixture of different size. Hand picking will follow when the amount is less. Okay, when the amount of mixture, if it is less, then we'll go for hand picking. Whereas sieving, when the size of components are of different size ಇದ್ದಾಗ we'll go for sieving. Okay, when the components are of different size, we'll go for sieving. Whereas there is one more technique that we frequently use in our day-to-day life, that is filtration. For example, when we are doing tea and all, okay, we'll use this filtration method, or to remove the cream from the milk, we'll go for filtration. So this filtration method is used when we need to separate solid from undissolved solid. Undissolved. It should not be dissolved. Undissolved solid from liquid. We'll go for this technique. So we use various of these techniques in our daily life, especially in our kitchen, to separate out mixtures. But in case of these techniques, they're mainly heterogeneous mixtures. They're heterogeneous mixtures where separation become quite easy as the two components that are mixed are clearly visible. Okay, now, but in case of homogeneous mixture, what has to be done for separation, that let us understand. In case of homogeneous mixture, for example, dye from ink. When you take dye of different colors, maybe black dye or blue dye, it will be mixture when you take ink, okay, of different color, maybe red ink or blue ink for ink pens and all. That's actually mixture of dyes. Blue ink does not have only blue color dye, okay. It is a mixture of various dyes in them, okay. But I want to separate dye in that ink, okay, not different dyes, but only a dye, whichever color may be it. I have to separate it from ink because ink is mixture of water. Water will be there in the ink. Okay. Water and dye will be there. And dye. As water and dye both will be there, we will choose a technique in which water can move by heating, okay, to the gaseous state, whereas dye does not evaporate. So here, to separate dye from ink, we'll use the technique of evaporation. The technique is evaporation. What is evaporation? Evaporation is a technique in which liquid get converted to gas below boiling point on heating. Okay, so evaporation is a process of heating the liquid to convert it into gas below its boiling point. ಅದನ್ನ evaporation ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಆದ್ರೆ ಈ evaporation ಟೆಕ್ನಿಕ್ ನಾವು ಯಾವಾಗ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ? when one substance is evaporating and other does not. To separate volatile component. Volatile component is solvent here. Volatile, the meaning ಏನು that we need to know. Volatile anta andre, this volatile means substance which is evaporating, able to evaporate. That's called as volatile. Non-volatile means do not, they don't evaporate. That's called as non-volatile. So volatile component na non-volatile component na separate ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ we use this evaporation technique. What generally we do is we'll take a beaker. Okay, above the beaker we'll keep a So when we want to separate dye from ink, we'll take the ink in a watch glass, okay? And like this, in a watch glass, we'll take the ink, and below we have kept a beaker in which water has been kept, okay? And we'll supply the heat. As we supply the heat, that heat makes the water to get boiled up, and that makes heat energy supplied to the ink, and vapors of ink will go. What is left in the process? There will be dye left in the watch glass. So this process is evaporation, and we can use this evaporation to separate volatile component from non-volatile substance. In daily life also we use this evaporation process. I mean, daily life means may not be at our homes. For various purposes we'll use this evaporation, like to separate salt from water, that is from seawater. To get salt from seawater, we use evaporation techniques. Okay, so this is one technique that we use to separate homogeneous mixture. Now moving ahead, second technique, let us discuss how to separate cream from milk. At our houses in the kitchen, we'll separate cream from the milk, right? How do we separate it? Cream may not be directly from milk. What we generally do is convert that milk into curd, and from the curd, it is cream is taken away. Okay, so we can separate cream from milk, whereas from milk, when we are separating cream, their cream is completely mixed in the milk. Nowadays we'll get milk of different milk having different amount of cream in it, high toned, right, double toned milk. So these milks will have different amount of cream in them. So if I want to separate this cream from milk, we should use a process called as centrifugation. The process is centrifugation. What is centrifugation? We'll take this mixture. It's also homogeneous. Milk ali cream irodu ಕಾಣಿಸಲ್ಲ ನಮಗೆ until and unless we boil it. Okay, so ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಮಿಲ್ಕ್ ಕ್ರೀಮ್ ಮಿಕ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿರತ್ತಲ್ಲ, ವಿಚ್ ಇಸ್ ಎ homogeneous mixture. That homogeneous mixture is taken in a container and it is spun rapidly. Spun means rotated. Okay, it's rotated at greater speed. When it is rotated at greater speed, then due to the force, little denser particle, that is cream, settles at the bottom. Okay, so centrifugation is a process for mixtures in which particles are so small that they cannot be separated by filtration. that we have discussed. In case of colloids, we can't go for filtration. So for colloids, we'll go for centrifugation. The mixtures in which the particles are so small that less than the pores of the filter paper, that they will pass through the filter paper when filtration is done. Hence, we use this technique of centrifugation. Okay, so this centrifugation technique process in which denser particles are forced to the bottom. Denser particles are forced to the bottom and lighter particles stay at the top when spun at high speed. When it is spun rapidly, denser particles settles at bottom and lighter particles will be at the top. The setup of the centrifugation will be like this. Can you see here? This is centrifugation machine, children. I'll also show you a video from Amrita O Labs that explains centrifugation process very well. Okay, so here four corners are there. In each corner, we can keep the test tubes. Okay, so keeping the test tubes in each slots, and when we switch it on, it starts spinning with greater speed. When this happens, centrifugation process starts, and after few time, the denser particles settles at the bottom. ಇದನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ನಮ್ಮ ಡೈಲಿ ಲೈಫ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ತುಂಬಾ ಕಡೆ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಅಂತ ಡಿಸ್ಕಸ್ ಮಾಡೋಣ. So let's watch the video now by Amrita O Labs. Thanking to them for beautiful video to understand the process of centrifugation. Hope you're seeing my video. I mean screen.
Centrifugation. Centrifugation is the process of separation of insoluble materials from a liquid when normal filtration does not work well. Centrifugation is based on size, shape, density of the particles, viscosity of the medium, and
these images are all of centrifugation machines of different size or different design, but they are all centrifugation machines.
Speed of rotation. The principle of centrifugation is that when spun rapidly, the denser particles are forced to the bottom and the lighter particles stay at the top. The apparatus used for centrifugation is called a centrifuge. The centrifuge consists of a centrifuge tube holder called a rotor. The rotor holds balanced centrifugal tubes of equal amount of the solid-liquid mixture. On rapid rotation of the rotor, the centrifuge tubes rotate horizontally, and due to the centrifugal force, the denser insoluble particles separate from the liquid. When the rotation stops, the solid particles end up at the bottom of the centrifuge tube with the liquid at the top. Materials required. Centrifuge machine. Centrifuge tube. Milk and distilled water. Procedure. Take a centrifuge tube and fill it 3/4 full of milk. Place the centrifuge tube in one of the holes of the rotor of the centrifuge. Take another centrifuge tube and fill it 3/4 full of distilled water. Place it opposite the first centrifuge tube to balance the centrifuge machine.
ಇದು ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಮಕ್ಕಳ, ಎಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಟ್ಯೂಬ್ ಅನ್ನ ಇಡ್ತೀವೋ ಟೆಸ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಟ್ಯೂಬ್ ಅನ್ನ ಅದ್ರ ಅಪೋಸಿಟ್ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಟ್ಯೂಬ್ ವಿತ್ ವಾಟರ್ ಇಡಬೇಕು. ಏನಕ್ಕಂದ್ರೆ ಬ್ಯಾಲೆನ್ಸಿಂಗ್.
Then close the centrifuge machine and centrifuge the milk for 13 minutes. After 13 minutes, take the centrifuge tube containing milk from the machine and observe the changes. The fat rises to the top, resulting in a cream layer at the top and skim milk or plasma phase of milk at the bottom. From this, we can infer that when spun rapidly, the denser particles are forced to the bottom and the lighter particles stay on top.
So we have seen a beautiful video by Amrita Vishwavidyapita regarding centrifugation process. So this centrifugation process is used at many places, okay, even at our home. Where do we use this centrifugation process? Let us understand the application of centrifugation process, okay. We use it in our kitchen to separate butter from milk. We call that process as churning. Churning. ಓಕೆನಾ ಇಂಗ್ಲಿಷ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಚರ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಕಡಿಯೋದು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಲ್ಲ, ಮಜ್ಜಿಗೆ ಕಡಿಯೋದು, ಮೊಸರು ಕಡಿಯೋದು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಲ್ಲ, ಅದು ಚರ್ನಿಂಗ್ process. So churning is also based on centrifugation. Even we use centrifugation technique in washing machines. In washing machine, at the end of the run, it starts rotating at greater speed to remove the water from the cloths. Okay, so first one, yeah, we'll also use it in diagnostic laboratories, that is for urine and blood test. For urine and blood test, blood and urine test, they use this centrifugation technique. ಏನಕ್ಕಂದ್ರೆ ಬ್ಲಡ್ ಮತ್ತೆ ಯೂರಿನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ if there is presence of unknown compound ಏನಾದ್ರೂ ಇದ್ರೆ, ಹುಷಾರಿಲ್ದೆ ಹೋದಾಗ ಜನರಲಿ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಸಜೆಸ್ಟ್ ಫಾರ್, ಏನಾದ್ರೂ ಡಯಾಗ್ನೈಸ್ ಮಾಡಕ್ ಆಗ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಸಜೆಸ್ಟ್ ಫಾರ್ ಬ್ಲಡ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಯೂರಿನ್ ಟೆಸ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ವಾ. ಸೊ ಅವಾಗ ಏನಾದ್ರೂ ಅನ್ನೋನ್ ಕಾಂಪೌಂಡ್ ಇದ್ರೆ, ಅಮೈನೋ ಆಸಿಡ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಪ್ರೋಟೀನ್ಸ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಾ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಅಥವಾ ಶುಗರ್ ಕಂಟೆಂಟ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗಿರಬಹುದು, ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಹೆಚ್ಚಾಗಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಬ್ಲಡ್ ಮತ್ತೆ ಯೂರಿನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ವಿಸಿಬಲ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಬಟ್ ನಾರ್ಮಲ್ ಆಗಿ ನೋಡಿದಾಗ ಏನು ಕಾಣಿಸಲ್ಲ, ಅದು ಹೋಮೋಜಿನಸ್ ಮಿಕ್ಸ್ಚರ್ ತರ ಕಾಣಿಸ್ಬಿಡತ್ತೆ. ಅದಕ್ಕೇನೆ ಇಫ್ ದ ಅನ್ನೌನ್ ಕಾಂಪೌಂಡ್ ಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟ್ ಇದ್ರೆ they go for centrifugation. Centrifuge ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ that unknown compound settles at bottom. ಓಕೆನಾ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಅವರು ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆ ಟಾಪ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಯೂರಿನ್ ಅಥವಾ ಬ್ಲಡ್ ಸ್ಯಾಂಪಲ್ ಉಳ್ಕೊಂಡಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಕೆಳಗಡೆ ಅನ್ನೌನ್ ಕಾಂಪೌಂಡ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಯೂರಿನ್ ಅಥವಾ ಬ್ಲಡ್ ಅನ್ನ ಅವರು ರಿಲೀಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ, ಐ ಮೀನ್ ಅದನ್ನ ಚೆಲ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಕೆಳಗಡೆ ಇರೋ ಕಾಂಪೌಂಡ್ ಅನ್ನು ಟೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಕ್ರಿಯಾಟಿನ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಇನ್ಯಾವುದೇ ಅಮೈನೋ ಆಸಿಡ್ಸ್ ಗಳಾಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಶುಗರ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಹಾಗೆ ಟೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ಅದು ಯಾವ ಕಾಂಪೌಂಡ್ ಅಂತ ಕಂಡು ಹಿಡಿದು then they'll diagnose the disease. So in the diagnostic laboratories, to find out if there is any unknown compound in the blood or urine, they go for centrifugation technique. So even in dairies and homes, in dairies to separate milk from cream from milk, and even in at our homes to separate butter from curd, we go for centrifugation technique, where we use this churning machine. We call it as churning machine. Then in washing machine, to remove excess of water, to remove water. This is to remove water from cloths. They use centrifugation technique. ಗೊತ್ತಾಯ್ತಾ ಮಕ್ಕಳೇ? ಇದು ಯಾವಾಗ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಜನರಲಿ when a mixture appears to be homogeneous, but it is having little denser particle, that's heavier particles that settles at bottom when spun at greater speed. Lighter particles will be at the top. Okay, so ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ centrifugation ಅನ್ನೋ ನೇಮ್ ಅನ್ನ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿರೋದು ಡ್ಯೂ ಟು centrifugal force, about which you have already studied in your physics chapter. So moving ahead, last separating technique for today's video Yeah, this is centrifugation machine, which we have seen so far. Last one, separating two immiscible liquids. Before we go for which technique is that, we need to know the meaning of miscible liquids and immiscible liquids. ಏನಿದು ಮಿಸಿಬಲ್ ಲಿಕ್ವಿಡ್ಸ್ ಮತ್ತೆ ಇಮ್ಮಿಸಿಬಲ್ ಲಿಕ್ವಿಡ್ಸ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ, ಮಿಸಿಬಲ್ ಲಿಕ್ವಿಡ್ಸ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ವಾಟರ್ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಮಿಲ್ಕ್. ಓಕೆ, ವಾಟರ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಮಿಲ್ಕ್ ಅಥವಾ ವಾಟರ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಆಲ್ಕೋಹಾಲ್. ವಾಟರ್ and alcohol. This water and alcohol mix very well and they form homogeneous mixture. ಹೋಮೋಜಿನಸ್ ಮಿಕ್ಸ್ಚರ್ ನ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಮಾಡತ್ತಲ್ವಾ, ಅದನ್ನ ಮಿಸಿಬಲ್ ಲಿಕ್ವಿಡ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಇಮ್ಮಿಸಿಬಲ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ವಾಟರ್ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಪ್ಲಸ್ ಆಯಿಲ್. ಓಕೆ, ದೇ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಹೆಟರೋಜಿನಸ್ ಮಿಕ್ಸ್ಚರ್. ಅದನ್ನ ನಾವು ಇಮ್ಮಿಸಿಬಲ್ ಲಿಕ್ವಿಡ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಟರ್ಮ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನು ನೀವು ನೆನ್ಪಿಟ್ಕೋಬೇಕು. ಓಕೆನಾ? ಸೊ ಮಿಸಿಬಲ್ ಲಿಕ್ವಿಡ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಸಪರೇಟ್ ಮಾಡೋದು ಹೇಗೆ, ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ವಿಡಿಯೋದಲ್ಲಿ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲೇನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಈಗ ಇಮ್ಮಿಸಿಬಲ್ ಲಿಕ್ವಿಡ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಸೆಪರೇಟ್ ಮಾಡೋದು ಹೇಗೆ, ವಿಚ್ ಆರ್ ಹೆಟರೋಜಿನಸ್, ದಟ್ ಲೆಟ್ ಅಸ್ ಅಂಡರ್ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡ್. ಸೊ ಟು ಸೆಪರೇಟ್ ಲಿಕ್ವಿಡ್ಸ್ that do not mix with each other, they are immiscible liquids. So liquids separate out based on densities. When you take oil mixed with water, always oil will be at the top and water will be at the bottom. That's because oil is denser than water. Sorry, oil is less denser than water. Water is more denser. So more denser irodu obviously ಕೆಳಗಡೆ ಸೆಟಲ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಅಪ್ಲಿಕೇಶನ್ಸ್. ಎಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲಿ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ ಇದನ್ನ ನಾವು ಟು ಸೆಪರೇಟ್ ಮಿಕ್ಸ್ಚರ್ ಆಫ್ ಆಯಿಲ್ ಅಂಡ್ ವಾಟರ್. ಆಯಿಲ್ ವಾಟರ್ ಮಿಕ್ಸ್ ಆದಾಗ ವಿಲ್ ಗೋ ಫಾರ್ ದಿಸ್ ಟೆಕ್ನಿಕ್. ಅಂಡ್ ಈವನ್ ಟು ಸೆಪರೇಟ್ oily waste from the iron ore, which is called as slag. Slag is nothing but oily waste. Okay, oil natured waste that has to be removed from iron during extraction of iron from iron ore. Iron ore in the iron ಅನ್ನು separate ಮಾಡುವಾಗ they use this separation technique to separate two immiscible liquids. How do they do that? They do that by using an apparatus called as separating funnel, which looks like this. This is a separating funnel. Again, there is a video regarding it by Amrita O Labs. Let me show that to you. So here we have video of separating funnel. How it works, let us watch it.
Separating funnel. Most of the matter around us is a mixture of two or more components. Mixtures are either homogeneous or heterogeneous. Homogeneous mixtures are uniform in composition like air, and heterogeneous mixtures are not uniform in composition like oil in water.
Here you can see this yellow portion indicate oil and white portion indicate water.
Homogeneous and heterogeneous mixtures can be separated into their components using different techniques based on the type of mixture and difference in the chemical properties of the constituents of a mixture. Separating funnel is one of the techniques that is used for separating the components of a mixture between two immiscible liquid phases. One phase is the aqueous phase, and the other phase is an organic solvent. This separation is based on the difference in the densities of the liquids. The liquid with more density forms the lower layer, and the liquid with lesser density forms the upper layer. Materials required: beaker, filter funnel, separating funnel, mixture of oil and water, and stand with a clamp. Procedure: first, take the separating funnel and clamp it on the stand. Now, take a filter funnel and place it on the mouth of the separating funnel. Pour the mixture of oil and water into the separating funnel through the filter funnel. Then remove the filter funnel from the separating funnel and close the separating funnel using a lid. Now, take the separating funnel from the stand. Invert the funnel and shake it gently and slowly open the stopcock of the funnel to release the pressure inside the funnel. Again, place the separating funnel in the stand and allow the two liquids to separate completely. We can see that oil forms the top layer and water forms the bottom layer. Now, take a beaker and place it below the separating funnel. Remove the lid on the mouth of the separating funnel. Open the stopcock of the separating funnel and pour out the lower layer of water carefully into the beaker. Close the stopcock as the oil reaches the stopcock. Take another beaker and place it below the separating funnel. Open the stopcock and now collect oil from the separating funnel. Finally, label the two components transferred into the beaker as water and oil. From this experiment, we can infer that the immiscible liquids separate out in layers depending on their densities. Since water is the denser liquid, it falls to the bottom and forms the lower layer. As oil is the lighter liquid, it forms the top layer.
So here we have understood how to separate two immiscible liquids by separating funnel. ಮಕ್ಕಳೇ ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಸೆಪರೇಟಿಂಗ್ ಫನಲ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಮೇನ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕ್ವೆಶನ್ಸ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಒಂದು ಡಯಾಗ್ರಾಮ್ ಕೇಳ್ಬೋದು. ಡಯಾಗ್ರಾಮ್ ಕೇಳಿದ್ರೆ 2 ಮಾರ್ಕ್ಸ್ಗೆ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಡಯಾಗ್ರಾಮ್ ಅನ್ನ ಅವರೇ ಕೊಟ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಲೇಬಲಿಂಗ್ ಅನ್ನ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಲೇಬಲಿಂಗ್ ಜನರಲಿ ಅವರು ಕೇಳೋದು ಆಯಿಲ್ ಅಂಡ್ ವಾಟರ್. ಆಯಿಲ್ ಅಂಡ್ ವಾಟರ್ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಏನಕ್ಕಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಆಯಿಲ್ ಟಾಪ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುತ್ತೋ ವಾಟರ್ ಟಾಪ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುತ್ತೋ ದಟ್ ಯು ಶುಡ್ ನೋ, ಅದಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ ಇದನ್ನ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಅದು ಬಿಟ್ರೆ ಇನ್ನೊಂದನ್ನ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ, 1 ಮಾರ್ಕ್ ಕ್ವೆಶನ್ ಅನ್ನ ಕೇಳ್ಬೋದು. ವಿಚ್ ಈಸ್ ದ ಕಾಂಪೋನೆಂಟ್ that comes out of separating funnel first and why? Which is the first component that comes out from the separating funnel ಮತ್ತೆ ಯಾಕೆ? ಯಾವುದು ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ? ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಬರೋದು ವಾಟರು. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಅದು ಹೈಲಿ ಡೆನ್ಸರ್ ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಅದು ಟಾಪ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬಾಟಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಸೆಟಲ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಟಾಪ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಆಯಿಲ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. Okay, so that's all for today. Meet you up with another video shortly with other 3 processes for separating mixtures. Thank you. Hope you are liking the videos and hope you are watching the videos completely. And if you have not subscribed yet, please subscribe my channel and share with your friends to make best use of it. Thank you.